The sun was already dipping behind the tall palm trees that lined Banana Island, casting gold streaks across the marble walls of the Okwu mansion. The gates, taller than most people's homes, stood open, just wide enough for a slim young woman to slip inside. Lizzy clutched the strap of her worn handbag tightly against her chest as she walked into the compound. Her heart pounded, not from the long trek from the bus stop, but from the weight of the moment. This was no ordinary house. This was the home of Damian Okwu, the billionaire everyone in Lagos whispered about, the kind of man whose face graced magazines, billboards, and dreams. She adjusted her second-hand shoes and swallowed hard as the mansion's chief steward, Madame Felicia, eyed her from head to toe like a hawk. "You're the new maid?" Madame Felicia's voice was sharp, her eyes narrowing. "Yes, Ma," Lizzy said quietly. Madame Felicia stepped aside. "Kitchen, cleaning, and laundry. No touching anything that doesn't belong to you. And one more thing." She leaned in. "Stay out of sight of the family, especially the son. The wedding is in 6 days. We don't need distractions." Lizzy nodded. "Yes, Ma." She was led through the back of the mansion and her eyes darted everywhere. Chandeliers that looked like they could pay her rent for 10 years, imported Italian marble under her feet, and flowers that smelled like something out of heaven. She started work immediately, scrubbing the already spotless granite counters in the kitchen. Her mind wandered briefly to her sick mother back in the village. This job was her lifeline, a chance to send money home, a chance to keep hope alive. But fate doesn't always follow instructions. She heard the sound of deep, confident footsteps approaching. Slow, steady, heavy with authority. Lizzy froze, her back turned, gripping the sponge in her hand. "Who are you?" The voice was smooth but edged with suspicion. She turned, and there he was, Damian Okwu in the flesh. Tall, sharply dressed in a crisp white shirt, his eyes narrowing as they scanned her face. I'm the new maid, sir," Lizzy stammered. He stepped closer, his gaze lingering. "The new maid? In my kitchen? And holding this?" Lizzy looked down at what he was pointing at, her handbag, lying open on the counter with a small old photograph half slipped out. Damian's eyes hardened. He reached for the picture before she could react. His face changed. It was a photograph of his late father, one that had been missing from the family for over a decade. "Where did you get this?" he demanded, his voice low, dangerous. Lizzy's lips trembled. I can explain." "You'd better," Damian said, stepping even closer, his cologne mixing with the tension in the air. "Because right now you look like a thief." Lizzy's knees felt like water as Damian's dark eyes bored into hers. His grip on the photograph tightened, his jaw clenched so hard that a muscle twitched near his temple. "This picture," he said slowly, as if weighing every syllable, "was stolen from my father's private study when I was 16. We searched for months, years, and now it's here, in your bag." Lizzy swallowed. "Sir, I didn't." "Don't lie to me." His voice cracked through the kitchen like a whip, making Lizzy flinch. "Do you have any idea what this means? This isn't some street souvenir you picked up from Belogan Market." Madame Felicia peeked from the kitchen doorway, her eyes darting between them, sensing danger. She quickly vanished again, probably to alert the rest of the household. Lizzy's voice wavered. It belonged to my mother. She gave it to me when—" "Your mother?" Damian's brows furrowed. "And how, pray tell, would your mother get a picture that only existed inside my father's locked study?" Lizzy's lips pressed together. She wanted to tell him. She wanted to explain everything. The night her mother had told her a story that didn't make sense about a stranger who once saved her life. But the words got stuck in her throat. Damian stepped even closer, towering over her now. His cologne, fresh, expensive, intoxicating, wrapped around her, but his tone was ice. "Listen to me carefully, Lizzy, or whatever your real name is," he said, his voice low but cutting. If you're here for some scam, maybe sent by someone to dig up secrets, you've picked the wrong house and the wrong man. He turned the photograph in his hand, staring at it for a moment, and Lizzy saw a flicker of something softer in his eyes. Pain, maybe? Nostalgia? But it vanished as quickly as it came. Before she could gather courage to speak, the sharp click of heels echoed behind them. Mrs. Bless entered the kitchen, dressed in an emerald silk gown that whispered wealth with every fold. Her gaze landed instantly on Lizzy, then on the photograph in Damian's hand. What is going on here? Mrs. Bless's voice was smooth, but under it lay a blade of authority. Damian hesitated. Mother, I found this in the maid's bag. Mrs. Bless's eyes narrowed at Lizzy. Maid? She practically spat the word. She hasn't even worked here for a full day, and already she's stealing family property? Lizzy shook her head frantically. No, Ma, I swear I didn't steal it. Mrs. Bless raised a perfectly manicured hand, silencing her. You can save your lies for the police. Lizzy's heart stopped. Police? Damian frowned slightly. Mother, maybe we should… No, Damian. Mrs. Bless snapped, her eyes glittering cold. This is exactly why I didn't want strangers in my house so close to your wedding. I knew she'd be trouble the moment I saw her face. Call the police. Now. Lizzy felt her breath quicken, panic gripping her chest like an iron fist. She opened her mouth to speak, but her voice cracked. Please. I can explain. Mrs. Bless took a step forward, her perfume heavy in the air. I don't care for your explanation. I care for my son's reputation. And you… She pointed a manicured finger directly at Lizzy's trembling frame. Are about to lose more than just your job. Damian's phone was already in his hand, thumb hovering over the call button, when a loud crash rang out from the main hallway. All three turned toward the noise. And there, standing in the middle of the shattered glass from a dropped wine bottle, was a figure that made Damian's face pale. It was Tara, the bride-to-be. And she had heard everything. Tara's stilettos clicked against the marble floor as she stepped closer, her eyes burning holes through Lizzy. Well, she began, her tone dripping with sarcasm. The little maid has family heirlooms now? Lizzy lowered her gaze, too ashamed to meet Tara's eyes. Damian tried to speak, but Tara held up her hand. Damian, you're too soft, Tara said, her gaze never leaving Lizzy. This girl is clearly here for one thing, to get close to you, and she's doing it by stealing. I'm not… Lizzy started, but Tara's voice sliced through hers like a blade. Quiet. You're in my house, in my fiancé's kitchen, holding his father's photograph. You're lucky I don't drag you out by your hair right now. Mrs. Bless smirked in approval. Damian's jaw tightened. Tara, let's not make a scene. Oh, it's already a scene, Tara cut in, her tone sharp. And guess what? If she's still here by tomorrow, I'm the one walking away from this wedding. Her words hung in the air like poison. Lizzy's heart sank. She was trapped, caught in a web she didn't spin. But deep inside, a stubborn fire was starting to burn. She looked up at Damian. Please, sir, just one chance to explain. Damian hesitated. He wanted to hear her, but with Tara and his mother standing there, it was impossible. Tara turned on her heel, her perfume lingering like a warning. Tomorrow, Damian. She's gone. Or I am. She walked out, leaving Damian staring at Lizzy, torn between curiosity and the chaos he knew was coming. Outside, hidden behind a wall, someone was recording the entire confrontation on their phone. The next morning, the mansion buzzed with pre-wedding activity. Photographers, decorators, stylists. The house was a carnival of luxury. Tara made her official arrival, stepping out of a white limousine in a shimmering gold dress, paparazzi flashes dancing around her. Lizzy watched from the balcony above, clutching the railing. She told herself to stay invisible, but her eyes couldn't leave the scene below. Damian, dressed casually in a white linen shirt, greeted Tara. But Lizzy noticed something. His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Tara looped her arm through his. "Darling," she purred, "we need to rehearse for the dance at the reception." "Dance?" Damian asked flatly. "Yes," she said with a fake laugh. "The one where we'll show the world how perfect we are together." Her eyes briefly darted up and caught Lizzy watching. A smirk played on her lips. Later that evening, as the rehearsals began in the ballroom, Lizzy was mopping near the doorway when Tara's voice rang out. "You there?" Tara called. "Come here." Lizzy hesitated. "Me?" "Yes, you. Since you're here, you can help us practice. Damian, dance with her. I want to see how you look when you're forced to hold a stranger." Damian frowned. "Tara, this isn't—" But Tara was already smiling sweetly at the wedding planner. "Go ahead, let's see it." Reluctantly, Damian stepped toward Lizzy. His hand rested on her waist, just lightly enough to be proper, but strong enough to make Lizzy's heartbeat stumble. They moved, slowly, and something happened. They actually fit. Tara's fake smile vanished. The dance ended with Tara striding over and slapping Lizzy across the face in front of everyone. The ballroom went silent. The echo of Tara's palm on Lizzy's cheek seemed to hang in the air. Damian grabbed Tara's wrist. "What is wrong with you?" "She's what's wrong with me," Tara snapped, her voice shaking with jealousy. "Look at her clinging to you like she belongs here." Lizzy's eyes burned with humiliation, but she said nothing. "Tara, you're being ridiculous," Damian said, his voice sharp. "Ridiculous?" Tara laughed bitterly. "Damian, if you can't see what she's doing, then maybe I should open your eyes for you." She stormed out, heels clicking like gunshots on marble. Everyone stared. Lizzy wanted to melt into the floor. Damian looked at her. "Go to your room," he said softly, though his eyes held something she couldn't read. Maybe anger, maybe confusion. Outside the mansion, Tara was on the phone with someone. "Do it tonight," she whispered. "Make sure she never steps foot in that house again." That night, Lizzy was in the laundry room when the door creaked open. Tara slipped inside like a shadow. "Listen, little girl," she whispered, her tone ice cold. "You think you're special? You're not. You're a maid. Know your place." Lizzy's hands tightened on the shirt she was folding. "If I see you anywhere near Damian again," Tara continued, "I'll make sure you're back in the village scrubbing mud off people's shoes for the rest of your life." Lizzy said nothing, but her silence wasn't fear anymore. It was defiance. Tara smirked. "Good girl." She turned to leave. As Tara stepped out, Damian was standing in the hallway. And he'd heard everything. The next day was supposed to be the engagement party. Damian, still angry from the night before, barely looked at Tara. Guests filled the mansion, champagne flowed, and the air buzzed with gossip. Midway through the party, Damian pulled Tara aside. "Don't you ever threaten her again," he said coldly. Tara's face twisted. "So you're defending her now? The maid?" Damian's silence was enough answer. The tension exploded when a video played on the large screen. Not part of the plan. It was Tara, drunk in a club 2 weeks ago, dancing too closely with another man. Gasps filled the room. Cameras clicked. Tara spun around, eyes wild. "Who did this?" In the corner, Amika, Damian's best friend, lowered his phone with a satisfied smirk. That night, unable to sleep, Damian went to the mansion's private garden. There, under the dim fairy lights, he found Lizzy sitting on a bench, quietly humming to herself. He sat beside her. "Why do you keep that photograph?" Lizzy hesitated. "Because my mother told me it's the only proof of a debt that was never repaid." Damian frowned. "Debt?" She nodded. "One day I'll tell you, but not now." They sat in silence, the night air thick with unspoken things. From behind a hedge, Emeka watched and recorded. The next morning, the video of Damian and Lizzy in the garden went viral on social media with the caption, "Billionaire groom caught with maid before wedding." The Akwu mansion was chaos. Mrs. Bless stormed into Damian's study, waving her phone. "Damian, explain this disgrace," she shouted. "It's not what it looks like," Damian said, rubbing his temples. "Oh, it's exactly what it looks like," Mrs. Bless snapped. "You will fire that girl today, or you will find yourself without a family to stand behind you at the wedding." Damian's eyes hardened. "Then I guess there's no wedding." At that exact moment, Tara burst in. "You'll regret this, Damian," she hissed. "I'll make sure she pays." By afternoon, Lizzy was scrubbing the marble floor near the entrance when police officers walked in. "Elizabeth Okafor?" the lead officer asked. Lizzy froze. "Yes?" "You are under arrest for theft." Gasps erupted from the staff. Lizzy's head snapped toward Damian, but he wasn't there. Only Mrs. Bless watching with cold satisfaction. They led her outside, handcuffs cold against her wrists. As the police car pulled away, Damian's black SUV screeched to a stop in front of it. He stepped out, eyes blazing. "Let her go," he said. Damian stood in the middle of the road, facing the police car like a man who had nothing to lose. "Let her go," he repeated, his voice low but dangerous. "Sir, she's under arrest for stealing valuable family property," the officer said, glancing nervously at Mrs. Bless, who stood on the mansion steps like a queen watching her subjects. "That property," Damian said, "belongs to me, and I say she didn't steal it." The officers hesitated. In Lagos, everyone knew Damian Akwu's word carried the weight of gold and lawsuits. Mrs. Bless stepped forward. "Damian, you are embarrassing yourself. She's—" "Enough, mother," Damian snapped, shocking everyone. "If you want to call off the wedding, go ahead, but Lizzy stays." The officers removed the handcuffs. Lizzy's wrists burned, but not as much as her heart. No one had ever defended her like this. But before relief could settle, one of the officers spoke quietly to Damian. "Sir, the evidence was found in her room. We can't explain that." Lizzy's eyes widened. "I've never seen that necklace before," she whispered. But Tara was in the shadows, smirking. Later that night, Lizzy paced in her small maid's quarters. The mansion felt like a prison, eyes on her everywhere. There was a knock. She opened the door to find Amika. "You can't stay here tonight," he said. Lizzy frowned. "Why?" "Because Tara isn't done," he said grimly. "She's planning something bigger for tomorrow. I'll sneak you out." Minutes later, Lizzy was in the back of Amika's car, headed to a small guest house outside Ikoyi. But just as she thought she was safe, her phone rang, an unknown number. She answered. "Lizzy, it's Damian. I need your help." Her heart raced. "What's wrong?" His voice was urgent. "They've taken me." In the background of the call, Lizzy heard a voice she recognized. Mrs. Bless. Lizzy could barely breathe. "Mrs. Bless?" There was silence. Then the line went dead. Moments later, a text came in. "Bring the photograph to the old warehouse at the docks." Alone. She knew it was a trap, but Damian was in danger. Lizzy returned to the mansion secretly, sneaked into her room, and retrieved the photograph from under her mattress. Hours later, she arrived at the warehouse, her heart pounding. Inside, Damian was tied to a chair, his lip bleeding. Mrs. Bless stepped out from the shadows. "You should have stayed in your place, Lizzy." From the upper level of the warehouse, Tara appeared, holding a gun. "Tara?" Lizzy gasped. "Yes, darling," Tara said with a laugh. "You think Damian loves you? He's mine, and after tonight you'll be gone." She raised the gun toward Lizzy, but Damian lunged forward, tipping the chair. The shot rang out. Lizzy screamed, rushing to Damian's side. Blood spread across his shirt. "Run," he whispered. "No," she said fiercely. "I'm not leaving you." She grabbed a rusty pipe from the floor and swung it at Tara, knocking the gun away. The warehouse erupted into chaos as Amika suddenly burst in with 2 security guards. They grabbed Tara, But Mrs. Bless slipped away into the night. As the guards tried to stop Damian's bleeding, he looked at Lizzy and whispered, "I love you." Damian lay pale in a private hospital room, his hand weak but warm in Lizzy's. "I was a fool," he murmured. "All this time I thought love was about status. But you showed me what it really means." Tears filled Lizzy's eyes. "Don't say too much. Just get better." The door burst open, and Tara strode in, her makeup perfect, her smile venomous. "You'll never have him, Maid," she spat. "Because," she held up a paper, "he's about to be a father. My child." Lizzy froze, the color draining from her face. Damian narrowed his eyes. "That's impossible." Tara smirked. "Is it?" A doctor entered, holding test results. "Sir, the pregnancy test is negative." Tara's smirk faltered, but she quickly recovered. "Fine, but I still have the marriage contract. You're mine legally, Damian." Lizzy stood, her voice steady. "We'll see about that." That night, Tara met with Mrs. Bless and said, "If we can't control him, we destroy her." The grand church was filled with guests, cameras flashing, the choir singing. Tara stood at the altar in a dazzling white gown. Damian walked in, his face unreadable. The priest began, "Do you, Damian Okwu, take this woman?" "No." Gasps echoed through the church. "I'm not marrying her," Damian said loudly. "The woman I love is standing at the back of this church, and she's wearing a maid's uniform." All heads turned to see Lizzy, frozen in shock. Mrs. Bless fainted, collapsing in the front pew. Damian strode down the aisle toward Lizzy, ignoring the cameras flashing wildly. He took her hand. "Lizzy, will you marry me?" Her lips trembled. "Damian, this is madness." "Madness is letting you go," he said, his voice firm. The crowd erupted into whispers. Tara stormed out, her heels clicking like gunshots. But the moment was cut short when a loud bang echoed outside. Someone had fired a shot, and it was aimed at Damian. Security rushed Damian into the limo, with Lizzy clutching his arm. The bullet had missed, but the message was clear. Someone still wanted him gone. In the privacy of the car, Lizzy finally told him the truth. "My father once saved your father's life," she said. "That photograph, it's the only proof. My mother told me to keep it safe, no matter what." Damian stared at her, emotions swirling in his eyes. "So, you were never here for the money?" She shook her head. "Never." Before he could respond, the limo window shattered. Another shot fired. The shooter was caught hours later. A hired man, sent by someone they still couldn't trace. 2 weeks later, Damian and Lizzy married quietly in a private beach ceremony. The sun dipped into the water as they exchanged vows promising forever. They laughed, danced barefoot on the sand, and later boarded a private yacht for their honeymoon. That night, Damian stepped onto the deck to get champagne. When he returned to their suite, Lizzy was gone. The balcony door swayed open in the wind. On the bed, a single photograph lay, the same one she had always kept. But now, written on the back in fresh ink, were 4 chilling words. "Don't look for me." The photograph with the haunting words, "Don't look for me," shook Damian to his core. For hours he searched the yacht, screaming Lizzy's name, but she was nowhere to be found. His heart was breaking apart, yet deep inside, something felt wrong. Lizzy would never leave him like this. 2 days later, the police called. They had found Lizzy unconscious in a remote safe house on the outskirts of town. She had been drugged and hidden away. Damian rushed there, his chest pounding with both fear and relief. When he saw her, frail but breathing, tears streamed down his face as he held her tightly. "Who did this to you?" he whispered. Lizzy's lips trembled. "It was Tara and your mother. They wrote that note. They wanted you to think I left you forever." The truth hit Damian like a storm. His own mother, Mrs. Bless, had plotted with Tara out of jealousy and desperation. Tara, obsessed with Damian and furious at Lizzy, had carried out the dirty work. That evening, the police raided Tara's hideout. She fought, screamed, and clawed, but in the end, she was dragged away in handcuffs, sentenced to prison for attempted murder and abduction. Mrs. Bless, however, escaped before she could be caught. Weeks later, when Damian and Lizzy had finally begun to heal, Mrs. Bless appeared at their doorstep. She fell to her knees, weeping. "My son, forgive me. I let hatred blind me. Please forgive me." Damian's jaw tightened, but Lizzy, with a soft heart, touched his hand. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it gives peace for the future. In the end, Damian chose peace over revenge. He forgave his mother, though their relationship would never be the same. Months later, on a golden morning by the sea, Damian and Lizzy finally had the wedding they dreamed of. No secrets, no betrayals, no shadows, just love, pure and unbroken. As they exchanged vows, Damian whispered, "No one will ever come between us again." Lizzy smiled, tears glistening. "Forever, Damian. Forever." And for the first time in a long time, happily ever after wasn't just a promise. It was their reality. Greed, jealousy, and hatred can destroy families, but forgiveness and love have the power to heal even the deepest wounds. True happiness comes when love wins over betrayal. Thank you so much for watching this powerful story. Please support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you. See you soon.